So today we're going to be going over 7 fragrances that I've smelled what feels to me like a million times by now, but each time I smell them, they still blow me away, and it's still like the first time I tried them out. There's something about these fragrances and other fragrances out there as well that each time I smell them, it still just kind of reminds me of how much I thoroughly enjoyed it the very first time I tried it. And I can speak from experience here and say that this is not common. There are so many scents that I own that are completely forgettable, and I can smell them and just think, oh, okay, yeah, that's a cologne. That has a scent to it that happens to be appealing, but that's about as far as it goes. These 7 fragrances here really take it to the next step and really kind of overwhelm me with just how unique and different and complex they are and just how well they work for me. First up, we have Dior Homme Intense. Iris, ambrette, lavender, and pear are going to be some of the main notes. This one should be no surprise. This has been a fragrance that I've really respected and enjoyed and loved for a few years now. And there's something about it. Each time I revisit this one, I smell it and I'm like, that is just incredible. It's very well done. It is smooth. It is high quality. Just on every level, this scent here is perfect for me. So this one breaks down pretty easily. You get a nice powdery floral iris note. You get ambrette or musk mallow, which for me gives off a bit of a almost chocolatey type of smell. There's lavender in here. It's a nice clean lavender, which gives a little bit of a fresh balance. And then a little bit of a fruity pear opening, but that's by no means the main note there. The main notes really for me are going to be the iris and the ambrette. This one here really set off the wave of iris fragrances, or really the original Dior Homme did, and then this one following up to that one being a stronger, sweeter, more intense version. This caught so much hype. Still to this day, it is very well regarded and very much talked about. And it is for sure a scent that just needs to be at least in your collection, if not tried once or twice, just so you have an understanding of what it smells like. Great stuff, and I love it every time. Next up, we have Halloween Man X. Coffee, tonka bean, and whiskey are going to be some of the main notes here. So this one is a favorite of mine for a few reasons, one of which being simply the smell. I mean, that's the most important part for sure. It's got a great scent to it. Everything from the whiskey top note to a nice roasted coffee smell to a nice powdery sweet tonka bean. Next up is going to be performance. I mean, this is a great performing scent. It works very well in the winter time. And last up, one of my favorite things about Halloween Man X is the price point. This one comes in under that $35 price point, really putting it in a very competitive spot, because once you get to, I would say, about $50 and above, that is where people may start to get a little bit iffy. Mid-range $50 designer price is a good price point as well, and a lot of people do like that price point and are attracted to it. But if you want to get a cheapie, it's going to be around $35 and under. This fragrance happens to slot into that area, and that's one of the main reasons, along with, of course, the great scent of why this one does so well. Like I said a minute ago, for me, the smell is what makes it worth it alone. If this fragrance costed more money, up to a certain point, I would still love it. If it costed more, I would expect an increase in quality. Not that it's a low quality scent, but you want to get what you're paying for here, and to get something that maybe have a bit more of a uniqueness to it and be just a bit of a more smoother scent. If I was paying more for it, I would definitely do that. But I think it checks all the boxes here, falling at the price point that it does, having the great scent, having the great performance. I mean, this one is a killer scent, and it is definitely worth having around in your collection for cooler weather, fall and winter time. Like I said, for me, each time I smell it, I love it, and I almost love it more and more. It gets put away here in the warmer months, and as soon as cooler months start to come around, I get back into it, and I can't get enough of it. Great stuff. Moving along, let's go ahead and go with ADG Profumo. Incense, patchouli, and sea notes are going to be some of the main notes, no surprise. This is, to this day, still one of my favorite summertime, kind of a more formal leaning evening out aquatic scents. I got this one back when I first started out with collecting. It wasn't my first fragrance or my second or anything like that. I don't even know. It might have been my third, actually. I can't remember for sure. I did a video on this type of thing where I actually went through and looked at my old receipts in my email and see what I picked up in order. I can't remember for sure, but it was very early on. And I loved it when I first got it. I was watching the reviews. I read the reviews. I saw the massive amount of hype around this one. Everyone was saying that it's an amazing scent. And when I got my nose on it, I could confirm for myself that, yeah, this stuff is killer. It's pretty safe to say that at this point I've built up a pretty solid collection to where I have a lot of other fragrances which are probably better and more unique than ADG Profumo, but at the same time, each time I smell it, even still, it just does it for me. It works so well. It's great performing on my skin. It's one of my favorites to wear in summertime. It's one of those super mass pleasing, compliment getting types of scents. And I mean, hey, you know, it's a bit more expensive, but with that price comes a great quality scent and, again, a good performer, which you don't always expect from an aquatic, but this one does deliver. You just get a bit of a smokiness out of this one that you don't normally find in aquatics coming from the incense, a bit of a green earthiness from the patchouli. It is still heavily an aquatic freshy. Just a nice twist, a nice different take on the DNA, and for me, still is one of my favorites. Each time I smell it is like the first time. Moving along to another OG, this one is La Nuit de l'Homme. Cardamom, lavender, and cedarwood are some of the main notes. So this is the cardamom beast. If you were to ask basically anyone, you know, hey, do you like cardamom? And they say, oh yeah, and you're like, okay, what's one of your favorite cardamom fragrances? Most people are going to say La Nuit de l'Homme, and that is for sure one of my favorite cardamom fragrances, but really that just shows the influence that this scent has and really how well it was able to take that note, shape it around this nice masculine evening DNA, and just create a slam hit bestseller. I mean, even to this day, this fragrance is still pumping like crazy, and the flankers are still going strong. They've had some hits, they've had some misses, and really, they haven't had anything quite as good as the original for me, except for the new Bleu Electrique. That one is really good, and it does target back to that original DNA, which I'm a huge fan of. And outside of the La Nuit de l'Homme line, I haven't found anything else that can really rival this one, simply in terms of being one of the best evening date fragrances there is. I mean, it's warm, it's spicy, it's sexy, it's inviting, it's alluring. It is everything you want and more. I mean, I wear this fragrance quite often. Not so much going out, especially when it's hot outside in summertime like we are currently in right now, but more so indoors for my own personal enjoyment, and I'll wear it to bed. It's just so kind of soothing in a way. It is warming, it is kind of cozy, but it does have that spiciness as well, which can kind of, you know, turn your head and wake you up a little bit. It just has a nice balance and a nice mix of everything. Spices, woods, a nice clean lavender. It just does it so well. And for me, every time I smell this fragrance, it is like the first time I tried it when I was blown away. Let's go ahead and move on to a niche scent from Roja Parfums. This one is Elysium. I wear it often. It smells fantastic. It's one of my girlfriend's favorites, so that works out good. And it's one that I do like to wear for special occasions, but also casually as well. I like to try to save it for those special occasions, but I end up caving in and just spraying it on when I'm around the house because, hey, it smells incredible. Grapefruit, vetiver, and ambergris are some of the main notes here, along with some juniper berry, some lemon, a bunch of other notes in general, citruses, woods, florals, a whole bunch of stuff. Roja Parfums are known for having huge note breakdowns, this one, of course, being one of them. But what you need to know is you get a lot of vetiver, a lot of grapefruit, other citrus, and a nice bit of ambrox and ambergris in the base. Smells incredible and is kind of their take on a blue fragrance, but done in a completely different way. I actually get good performance. People say that they don't, and maybe it's skin, maybe it's olfactory fatigue. I don't know, but I do know that from the Parfum Cologne and the Parfum, either of the two, I get good performance. The Parfum Cologne will last on my skin into the next day. The Parfum will last even longer than that. Though I haven't tested it because I do shower every day, I would bet that it would last a few days on skin if you weren't to wash it off. The Parfum is extremely potent, and the Parfum Cologne is very strong as well. The Parfum Cologne projects more than the Parfum, so that's something to keep in mind. When it comes down to it, I would say 99% of you would be best off going with the Parfum Cologne, being that it is more affordable. I was going to say cheaper, but let's be real here, it's not cheap. A lot of times it's hard to find these at discounters, unfortunately, without them actually being higher priced than retail, which is always kind of a strange one. So if you want to grab a bottle of Elysium for yourself, I will link it down below to Twisted Lily, and you can use my code CHAOS10 to get 10% off site-wide. That code works on everything, including samples over there, and is also always active. So if you ever want a 10% off code at any time at Twisted Lily for anything, just remember CHAOS10 in the back of your head. Immediate 10% off without you having to do anything else. And again, always live, always active. Great way to save a lot of money here. You can save almost $30 off a bottle of Elysium. It's a pretty good deal when a lot of times you're paying retail or on discounters more than retail, which is kind of weird. We're running down to the end here. Up next, we have Armani code Absolu. Vanilla, tonka bean, and suede are going to be some of the main notes here, and I get a good amount of all of those notes. I get a nice smooth creamy vanilla. I get the tonka bean, which is a bit powdery. I get the suede, which kind of gives off the texture of kind of a leather in a way, like a soft leather. It just is a great, great concoction of notes. It is a very sweet fragrance, kind of like Profumo, but I find this one to be less playful and more grown up than Profumo, and that is Armani code Profumo, not Acqua di Gio Profumo, which we just talked about, which is completely different. Yeah, if you want something that's going to be a bit more grown up, but still very sweet and just good for a night out in the fall and winter time, Armani code Absolu is a great option. They really did it right here. I wasn't expecting to like it so much, but when I first got it in and tried it, I was just thoroughly impressed. Even now, when I smell this one, I can't get enough. And last up, this one is pretty obvious, so I did go ahead and save it for the end, but that is Creed Aventus. Pineapple, birch, apple, bergamot, a bunch of other notes, musk, ambergris, ambroxan, whatever, are some of the main notes. I don't need to explain it any further than that in terms of scent because you have heard it before, and if you haven't smelled Aventus, you've probably smelled Aventus clones and Aventus inspired scents, which would at least give you an idea of what it's all about. I'm a big fan of Aventus clones. You know, I've talked a lot about the Parfum's vintage alternatives. I've talked about just some others from other brands and designers and whatever, and Mont Blanc Explorer, which I have come around to really enjoy. It's a great scent, great price point. For me, though, nothing is quite like the original. And that's not me being a niche snob. That's not me trying to pull your leg. That's just for me. You know, I've smelled all of the clones, basically. I've smelled all of the alternatives. And while a lot of them are really good, for me, what I reach for at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, actually 9.99 times out of 10, is the real thing. And there's a reason for that. Everything from the quality to the depth and the complexity and the way it transitions and the way it just behaves on my skin is unbeatable. For me, I still remember the first time I tried Aventus. It was actually from a carded sample. And, you know, I was going into it super excited, and I sprayed it on paper, actually on the, the Creed carded samples. It's cardboard. I opened it up and I sprayed it right on that, which not really sure why I did. I was new at that time. Obviously, I should have sprayed it directly on skin, but I didn't. Sprayed it on that cardboard. I smelled it and I was like, yeah, it smells nice, but what's the deal here? I didn't get it right away. I set it next to a window. It was spring, early summer. The windows were open. There was a breeze coming through, and I was sitting there. I forgot about it at that point. I was smelling something. I'm like, what is that? That smells so good. That's incredible. And I remembered that Aventus carded sample that I sprayed that was sitting next to the window. The wind was wafting it in, and I was able to smell it. And at that point, that's when I knew that I had finally tried something that was just unbeatable. That was batch 16H11. I do have a retail bottle of it now, or I've had that for a while, and ever since then I've been hooked on Aventus. It is just one of those fragrances that for me works. I don't care about the hype, I don't care about the hate, I don't care about all of that stuff. I care that it works for me. I care that it makes me feel good and smell good. My girlfriend also loves it as well. It's just one of those scents that I can't get enough of, and that every time I smell it, it's like the first time when I decided that I loved it. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me. That was 7 fragrances that I've smelled a lot. Not really a million times, but I've smelled a ton. And each time I smell them, it's like the first time. It's like that time that I fell in love with it. And that happens now, years later. Now, if you have interest in any of these fragrances for yourself, you want to pick them up and add them to your collection, hit the links down below, and those will take you directly to Discounter, so you can grab these without having to spend retail prices, which is astronomical. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.